If an AI lab writes its own safety story, who checks what the story leaves out? OpenAI publishes a system card, Anthropic publishes a responsible scaling policy, Google DeepMind publishes a frontier safety framework. The labs write carefully. They are not careless, but the structure is consistent. A single author, a single institutional voice, a single set of framings the lab has already decided to publish. The labs are doing exactly what any institution does when it is asked to evaluate itself. They are producing self-attestation. Self-attestation is not independent assurance. If independent AI governance work like this matters to you, support the series with a like and a subscribe. It helps the next weekly audit reach the people who need the signal before the next procurement deadline. The governance stack around AI has grown up over the last 3 years. Most of it lives inside organizations. In-house governance, risk, and compliance platforms, GRC stacks, help a company catalog its own AI use. Runtime logging tools emit evidence from systems already in production. Governance catalogs inventory which models a company has bought or built. All three are necessary. None of them answer the question the procurement team, the journalist, the policy team, and the regulator are actually asking. Is this lab's public claim about its own safety, its own refusals, its own transparency? Is that claim comparable to what other labs claim and to what those labs did last month? That question is not about an in-house register. It is about a public one. StanceWatch is the independent public AI risk register the labs do not control. StanceWatch runs on a framework called GoldBerry. GoldBerry is the lens system. StanceWatch is the weekly application of that lens system to a fixed corpus, the 51 AI labs whose public surfaces the methodology can audit. GoldBerry contributes 8 epistemic lenses. We won't enumerate all 8 here. The framework has its own explainer, but 3 of them are worth naming because they are the ones StanceWatch's leaderboard surfaces most visibly. Indigenous Knowledge, whose embodied, relational, place-based practice is the lab's stance silent about. Deep history, what older event, older pattern, older harm does the lab stance structurally forget? Trickster Knowledge does the lab's own framing detect its own framing. The 8 lenses together produce a PALS score, the StanceWatch language for 3 audit dimensions. Completeness. Does the lab's public surface cover the 8 lenses? Multiplicity. Does it include marginalized voices, cross-cultural sources, and contrary evidence? Responsibility. Does it own its errors, refuse well, and sign public commitments? PALS is qualitative judgment, not a validated metric. The methodology page is explicit about that. The point of a PALS score is not to crown a winner, it is to make the lab stance inspectable. Most AI transparency work happens annually. The big foundation model transparency indexes publish once a year. The big academic benchmarks rerun on a fixed schedule. Both are valuable, both are slow. The world StanceWatch is built for does not move annually. It moves weekly. New models ship, new refusals are added to system prompts, new safety documents are released, new incidents happen. The lab's stance, what the lab is willing to say in public, and what it is willing to do under pressure changes through releases, through refusal policies, through safety documents, through public claims, and through incidents. A single annual score cannot capture that change. A score that updates weekly can. StanceWatch publishes its audit on a fixed cadence, every Monday at 9 UTC. Each lab's public surface is scraped. The GoldBerry audit prompt is run against it. The result is validated against the 8-lens schema. The site is republished. Per lab reports are published as machine-readable JSON, so any external system, a procurement workflow, a research dashboard, a journalistic monitor can subscribe to the audit trail directly. The point of the cadence is not one grand score. The point is a time series, not a verdict, a record. As of this film, the first weekly cron is imminent. The leaderboard already renders the 51 labs in scope. With the same PALS dimensions and lens scores, the cron will publish. The record begins the moment the first audit lands. 2 regulatory regimes are converging on AI risk in 2026, and they both make the audit trail matter. The European Union's AI Act reaches full general application on 2 August 2026. Earlier dates already cover general-purpose AI models and the penalties regime. The Act does not, in its text, mandate a product called an AI risk register, but Article 9 functionally requires a documented risk management system, and procurement teams across the EU are already asking vendors to show one. ISO IEC 42001 the international standard for AI management systems, makes a documented risk process procurement relevant in jurisdictions that do not operate under the EU regime. It is already cited in tenders. Neither regime makes independent judgment unnecessary. What they both make necessary is the audit trail, the documented, versioned, comparable record of what the lab has claimed, when it claimed it, and how that claim has changed. StanceWatch is the public half of that trail. The lab's own GRC stacks are the private half. The two do not compete, they stack. A worked example. The live StanceWatch leaderboard, as of this film, ranks 51 AI labs on 3 PALS dimensions, scored 1 to 10. Each lab also carries an 8-lens profile. OpenAI's public surface scores 5 on completeness, 2 on multiplicity, 3 on responsibility, composite 3.3. The lens profile is the sharper finding. OpenAI scores 6 out of 10 on scientific evidence, its strongest lens. It scores 4 on future modeling. It scores 3 on marginalized voices and deep history. It scores 2 on artistic perception, cross-cultural wisdom, and trickster knowledge. And it scores 1 out of 10 on indigenous knowledge. The lab's public surface does not visibly name whose embodied, place-based knowledge the lab stance is silent about. Anthropic, a frequent comparator, scores 5 on completeness, 2 on multiplicity, and 6 on responsibility. Higher on refusals and public commitments. Lower or equal on the lenses that ask whose voice is at the table. These are not verdicts, they are records. A 1 out of 10 is not a moral judgment on a 4,000 person company. It is a structural finding. This lab's public surface does not, at this moment, name what indigenous knowledge it acknowledges. That is something procurement, journalism, and civil society can check and recheck again. StanceWatch turns AI lab claims into a record that can be compared, questioned, and revisited. The future of AI governance cannot be only private dashboards and self-written assurances. Some of the register has to be public. StanceWatch is that public layer. Weekly, independent, comparable, inspectable, the doorway is open. The first audit is imminent. Subscribe for the next explainer in the series and follow the weekly audit at cogniosynthesisportal.uk/StanceWatch.